In the fall of 2011, Skull Yang was finishing up the final exam for a course called Multivariate Calculus from MIT. Like any MIT student, he felt the exam was challenging as he was struggling through the exam. However, whereas an MIT student had an entire semester to go through the course, Skull only started 5 days ago. See, Skull was not an MIT student, but he was going through a 4-year MIT computer science curriculum through a free platform called MIT Courseware. After receiving a commerce degree from the University of Manitoba, Skull felt like he picked the wrong major. When he was deciding his major between computer science or business in university, he thought he's going to gain ability to be his own boss by studying business. However, only after he graduated, he realized a lot of business graduates actually go to big corporations and become corporate zombies. Instead, he wanted to learn how to build things with codes and algorithms. But going back to school means thousands of dollars in tuition fees and 4 years of commitment. He didn't want to put his life on hold just to learn something he was interested in. It turns out that there's something called MIT OpenCourseWare, where MIT put their courses, exams, and assignments for the world to use. From there, he was able to assemble a curriculum of 33 courses that are very similar to the standard MIT computer science curriculum. What he did was later known as the MIT Challenge. The results were simply amazing. He started the MIT Challenge on October 1st, 2011, in just under 12 months. He finished the project on September 26, 2012. He studied 35 to 60 hours a week and spent about $2,000 on study materials. So effectively, he got a 4-year MIT education in under 1 year for $2,000. Welcome to my channel, it's Andy here. In this video, we're going to learn some of the learning techniques Skull used to make his learning a lot more effective. Before we start any learning project, we need to set aside some time for planning. Specifically, we need to figure out the why, the what, and the how. For the why, ask yourself, why are you learning it? Is it for personal enjoyment? Are you learning Spanish just for fun? Or is it for your career? If it is for your career, make sure you do a lot of research before investing your time and money. I've seen many professionals go into graduate school thinking you will help them advance their career, but they only found out that their employers don't actually care after they got their degree. For the why, you need to be specific and with a goal in mind. For example, saying Spanish isn't specific enough. Are you trying to learn written Spanish or conversational Spanish? And to what level? Are you hoping to become fluent in the next 6 months? Saying, I want to learn more about business is too broad. What specific skills are you trying to learn? Is it accounting? Is it outbound sales? As for the how, ask yourself if there's a clear path to what you want to learn. When Skull was doing the MIT challenge, he had a curriculum, so all the knowledge is laid out in front of him. All he had to do was to follow others' footsteps. Maybe you don't have that luxury in your own learning project. And lastly, be clear about how much time and money you have. Skull was able to devote full-time hours and $2,000 for the MIT challenge, but you might not have that much time. So how much planning is good? Generally 10 to 20%. So if you want to spend 200 hours in the next 6 months to learn about front-end web development, consider spending 20 to 40 hours for the planning stage. After planning, there comes actual learning. The number one thing to pay attention to is to learn directly. Using Scott's definition, learning directly is the idea of learning being tied closely to the situation or context you want to use it in. This means figuring out where and how the skill will be used and trying to match the situation as closely as possible when practicing. If you want to learn public speaking, public speak. If you want to learn about programming, code a website. There are a few ways to learn directly, and I'll mention two. The first way is called project-based learning, where you learn by actually completing projects. This technique is used extensively in coding bootcamps. In these bootcamps, you're not sitting back and learning passively about computer theories. You're completing projects by using the skill you just learned, and that's much more effective than traditional schooling. The second way is called immersive learning, where you immerse yourself in a learning environment. An obvious example will be learning Spanish. The most effective way to learn Spanish is to go to Spain and learn in that environment. How about for skills such as public speaking or playing piano? You can join a community of people who are trying to learn the same skills as you. Check out local meetups or form your own. When you are learning directly, you will likely run into what I call bottleneck problems. These are specific components of the overall skill that you find particularly challenging. When you're learning a new language, maybe it's the vocabulary you're struggling with. What you want to do is to isolate the components and develop drills around them. Good ways to do a drill include time slicing and cognitive components. Time slicing is when you isolate a chunk of time just to practice it. Going back to the Spanish example, maybe you want to spend 20 minutes every morning trying to memorize the vocabularies. The next one is called cognitive components, where you isolate one component of an overall skill and just focus on that. An example will be grammar for language learning, or dribbling if you're trying to get better at basketball. When you are in the process of learning a skill, please remember to give feedback. This is very important And if there's one thing you want to take away from this video, is that feedback is very important. Keep in mind that feedback has to be immediate, specific, and real. I'll go through each one. Immediate feedback is as soon as you've done the drill. When I was in high school, I tried to get better at basketball. I would go to a basketball at 8 p.m. at night and just practicing by myself. Since no one's watching, I wasn't getting any immediate feedback, and my skills didn't improve, even though I put in a lot of time. Feedback also has to be specific. When you're learning public speaking, it's not helpful when people just say you are boring. Is it the tonation? Is it the content? Feedback also has to be real. When you're learning piano for the first time, your relatives might just try to cheer you up. When the feedback is not reflecting your true level, you might think you're better than you actually are. The last thing I want to talk about is retention. When it comes to retention, memory operates on a use it or lose it basis. Forgetting is actually the default for a lot of things we learn. But I will mention two techniques we can use to slow down the process. The first one is called spacing. When you spread your learning sessions over longer periods of time, you tend to remember more. And this is why cramming doesn't work. So try to study a bit every day versus trying to take it all in the day before the exam. The second memory technique is called proceduralization. As mentioned before, there are three parts to knowledge: concepts, facts, and procedures. Procedures such as bicycling or swimming are much less susceptible to be forgotten compared to factual information such as terms in biology or mathematical equations. Some people suggest that a lot of skills move through stages, starting out as mostly factual information, but becomes more and more procedural as you practice more. Using typewriting as an example, when you're first learning typewriting, all you remember is the position of the letters. As you become better and better at it, the factual information is internalized, and typewriting becomes more and more of a procedure. What's the implication? Whatever you're learning is likely a mix of abstract knowledge and procedures. Try to practice as much as possible of the procedures so they can serve as a trigger to the abstract knowledge. When you're learning a new language, try to say a few day-to-day speeches frequently so they can serve as a gateway to a broader body of knowledge, such as grammar or intonation. And that's it. Thank you for watching my video. If you liked it, please subscribe.